Imagine for a moment that you have a deadline. You pull out a calendar. You count forward exactly 1 year. You circle the date. It's simple, right? A year is a year.
That's the assumption. It's, one of those things we just take for granted.
Exactly. But what if I told you that in the eyes of the law, your calendar might be lying to you? That this very simple idea of what a year is almost cost a company over 26 million pesos.
It sounds like a brain teaser, but it's actually the heart of a huge Supreme Court case. We're talking about Commissioner of Internal Revenue versus Primetown Property Group.
And this is not just some dry tax case. I mean, yes, it's about taxes, but it's really more of a legal thriller. You've got a clash between two giant laws, a leap year that throws a wrench in everything, and a single Latin phrase that changes the whole game.
We're essentially going to do a deep dive into the legal definition of time itself, or at least how the court decided to measure it when that much money was on the line.
So let's set the stage. To really feel the pressure here, we have to go back, let's say back to 1997.
1997. Yeah, if you were in business in Asia back then, especially real estate, that year probably gives you a bit of a cold sweat.
It wasn't just a slow year, it was a total meltdown.
The Asian financial crisis.
Yeah.
It was just one domino after another. Currencies were in free fall, banks weren't lending, and for property developers, the music just stopped.
Right. And smack in the middle of this economic storm, you have Primetown Property Group. They're a real estate company. In a good market, things are great. But in 1997...
Oh, it's the worst-case scenario. Gilbert Yap, their vice chair, he laid it all out. He said labor costs were going through the roof, but you couldn't get financing for your projects. The whole industry just seized up.
You can just picture it. You've got buildings half-finished, payroll to meet, and suddenly no cash is coming in. Primetown started 1997 with high hopes, but they ended the year with a staggering loss. The exact figure was 71,879,228 pesos.
That is a massive hole to be in.
Yeah.
And this is what sets up the whole legal battle because, corporate tax is based on income. If you don't have any income, if you actually lose a ton of money, you generally shouldn't owe the government any income tax.
But the tax system doesn't wait until December 31st to get its money. You pay as you go.
Correct. Primetown had been making quarterly tax payments all through 1997, operating under the assumption that they'd turn a profit.
So before they even knew how bad the year was going to be, they had already sent the Bureau of Internal Revenue, the BIR, a check for 26,318,398 pesos.
So just think about that. They're down 71 million from their operations.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, the government is holding on to another 26 million of their cash for tax that they don't even owe.
That's just brutal. Of course they want that money back. I mean,
Right.
That's critical cash they need to just survive.
Right. So they did the standard thing. They filed for a refund. They went to the BIR and said, hey, we overpaid. Here are the numbers. Can we have our money back? Primetown filed its final adjusted return on April 14th, 1998.
Okay, everyone listening, you need to remember that date, April 14th, 1998. That's our starting point.
Primetown files the paperwork. The BIR asks for some documents. Primetown sends them over.
Yeah.
And then crickets.
The classic bureaucratic black hole.
Exactly. The claim just sat there. And any good tax lawyer knows you can't just wait forever. There's what's called a prescriptive period, a window of time. If you don't sue for your refund within that window, you lose the right to it forever.
So they knew the clock was ticking. They had to escalate. They filed a petition with the Court of Tax Appeals, the CTA, on April 14th, 2000.
Okay, so let's put those two dates side by side.
April 14th, 1998.
April 14, 2000.
To me, and I think to any normal person, that looks like exactly 2 years to the day.
And the law, Section 229 of the tax code, says you have 2 years to file. So Primetown thought, okay, we're filing on the last possible day, but we're in. We made it.
But they didn't make it. The Court of Tax Appeals threw the case out, dismissed. They said Primetown was late.
And this is where it gets weird. This is where it stops being about tax and starts being about philosophy. Because the CTA's logic all came down to one specific law, Article 13 of the Civil Code of the Philippines.
Okay, so what does the Civil Code, this foundational law, say a year is?
It's incredibly specific and mathematical. Article 13 says that a year is to be understood as 365 days.
365, not one calendar year, not 12 months, just a number, a quantity of days.
Exactly. It's like a recipe. A year is a container that holds 365 days.
So the CTA literally did the math. They said the law gives you 2 years. That's 2 times 365.
Which is 730 days. The Court of Tax Appeals said Primetown had precisely 730 days from April 14th, 1998 to sue for their refund.
I think you see the trap coming.
You got it. the year 2000.
It was a leap year.
It was. There was a February 29th in 2000. And because of that one little extra day, the actual time that passed between April 14th, 1998 and April 14, 2000 wasn't 730 days. It was 731.
They missed it by 1 day.
According to the Civil Code's definition, yes, the 730-day deadline actually fell on April 13, 2000. By filing on the 14th, they were 1 day too late.
That is just gut-wrenching. To lose 26 million pesos because of how the Earth orbits the sun.
It feels completely unfair. And Primetown's argument was basically, come on, we filed on the anniversary. That's what 2 years means. But the CTA was unmoved. They basically said, the law is the law. It says 365 days. The math doesn't lie.
I can't even imagine that phone call. Hi, boss. Yeah, about that 26 million. It turns out February 29th is a real thing.
So, of course, Primetown appealed to the Court of Appeals.
Yeah.
And the CA actually sided with them. They overturned the CTA's decision.
Okay, so common sense prevails.
Sort of. They got to the right answer, but their reasoning was a little shaky. The Supreme Court later called them out on it. The CA basically said, yeah, Article 13 is a thing, but let's just pretend a leap year still only has 365 days for legal purposes.
So they just decided to ignore February 29th.
Pretty much. They tried to bend reality to fit the law. So while Primetown won that round, the Commissioner of Internal Revenue appealed it up to the Supreme Court.
And to be fair, the government's argument was legally solid, wasn't it?
It was very solid. The CIR's lawyers argued that tax refunds are always interpreted strictly against the person claiming them. The Civil Code is crystal clear.
Right.
365 days. 731 is bigger than 730. End of story.
So this all lands on the Supreme Court's desk. You have the Civil Code's rigid math on one side and Primetown's calendar-based common sense on the other.
And honestly, things look really bad for Primetown. The Supreme Court had ruled on this 365-day issue before in other cases, and had always upheld it. The precedent was not on their side.
So how did they pull this out of the fire? Was there some kind of loophole?
Not a loophole. It was a whole other law. And this is the moment in the story where the Supreme Court justice writing the decision pulls a rabbit out of a hat.
Okay, let's hear it.
They introduced Executive Order Number 292, also known as the Administrative Code of 1987.
1987. Okay, so that's much newer than the Civil Code. The Civil Code is from the 1950s.
That's the key. The Administrative Code is more recent. And hidden inside it, in Section 31, there's a definition for legal periods.
And I'm guessing it doesn't say 365 days.
It does not. It says, and I quote, year shall be understood to be 12 calendar months.
12 calendar months. Okay, wait, that sounds different, but how different is it really?
It's a completely different way of measuring. The Civil Code counts days. It's like a stopwatch. It doesn't care about months, just the total number of days.
Yeah.
365.
Right, it's a quantity.
The Administrative Code counts by the calendar page. It measures in months.
So what's the official definition of a calendar month then?
The court defined it very clearly. It's the period from a specific day in one month to the same day in the next month. So, for example, January 15th to February 15th is one calendar month.
What about months with different numbers of days, like January 31st to the end of February?
That's the beauty of it. That jump is still considered one calendar month. It doesn't matter if February has 28 or 29 days.
Yeah.
The system automatically adjusts. It's not counting the days inside the month. It's just counting the jump from one month to the next.
So now you have a huge conflict. The Civil Code says count 365 days. The Administrative Code says count 12 months. You can't do both if there's a leap year.
Exactly. So the Supreme Court had to decide which law to follow, the old one or the new one.
And this is where the Latin comes in.
Lex posteriori derogat priori.
Which sounds very impressive. What's the simple version?
It just means the later law repeals the prior one.
Let's break that down.
Okay, imagine your parents made a house rule in 1950. Bedtime is at 9 p.m. Then, in 1987, they put up a new sign that says, bedtime is after you finish your homework.
Okay, those are two different instructions.
Right, and one day you finish your homework at 9:30. The principle of lex posteriori says the newer rule from 1987 is the one that counts. We assume they changed their minds. The new rule replaces the old one.
Even if they didn't explicitly tear down the old sign.
Exactly. That's called an implied repeal. The Administrative Code didn't say we hereby repeal Article 13 of the Civil Code, but it did say it repeals any law that's inconsistent with it. And the Supreme Court said defining a year in two different ways is definitely inconsistent.
So for decades, lawyers and judges were using an outdated definition.
That's pretty much it. The Supreme Court essentially said, hey, everyone, we got a software update in 1987. The 365 days rule is obsolete. The current operating system uses 12 calendar months. Under this new system, the number of days in the year is irrelevant. 365, 366. It doesn't matter. It's still 12 calendar months,
Okay. So let's apply this new rule to Primetown's problem. Their deadline was 2 years.
which now means 24 calendar months.
Let's do the count. How does it work?
The court walked through it. You start from the filing date. So the first calendar month ran from April 15th, 1998 to May 14th, 1998. The second month went from May 15 to June 14, and so on.
So let's skip ahead to the end, the final months.
Okay, so the 23rd calendar month ran from February 15, 2000 to March 14, 2000.
And February 29th is sitting right in the middle of that period.
It is, but since we're counting months, not days, it doesn't matter. That extra day is just part of the February-March bucket. The bucket's a little bigger that year, but it's still just one bucket.
And the very last month.
The 24th calendar month. It started on March 15, 2000, and it ended on April 14, 2000.
The exact day they filed.
The exact day. By changing the unit of measurement from days to months, Primetown wasn't one day late. They were perfectly on time.
Wow. The leap year just vanished as a problem.
Completely. The Supreme Court said the petition was filed on time, and they sent the case back to the Court of Tax Appeals so Primetown could finally argue for their 26 million peso refund.
That is just such a satisfying result. It's like logic finally won.
It is, but it's important to see it as a victory of correct legal interpretation. It wasn't just about what felt fair. It was about recognizing that the Administrative Code from 1987 had superseded the older Civil Code on this point.
It's a huge reminder that you can't just assume what a basic word like year means in a legal document.
Never. Especially not when there are two laws fighting over the definition.
You know, this is also a bit of a scary thought, isn't it?
How so?
Well, for who knows how long the BIR and the tax courts were operating on the old 365-day rule, they might have rejected other valid claims based on a law that had been technically repealed.
Absolutely. It shows that just because something's common practice doesn't mean it's legally correct. You always have to go back to the text of the most current law.
And that leads me to one last thing that's kind of bugging me as we wrap up.
Go for it.
We just found one tiny definition, the definition of a year, where this massive 1987 administrative code quietly overruled the foundational civil code. And it took this specific case for everyone to notice.
I see where you're going with this.
How many other little time bombs are ticking away in there? How many other silent repeals are just lurking in the administrative code, waiting for the right lawsuit to bring them to light?
That is a fantastic and slightly terrifying question. We rely on the Civil Code for so many fundamental definitions. If there are other newer administrative rules that contradict it, they might be the actual law of the land, and we just don't know it yet.
We could be operating on legal assumptions that were made obsolete decades ago.
It's entirely possible. It's a powerful reminder that the law isn't static. It's a living thing, and sometimes it changes very, very quietly.
So what's the big takeaway for everyone listening?
If you're ever dealing with a legal deadline, don't trust a calendar app or what you think you know. Find the specific law that governs that deadline, and make sure you're reading the most recent version of it.
And maybe, just maybe, double check if it's a leap year.
Always check for the leap year. It's the silent killer of deadlines.
That's all for this deep dive. A huge thanks to the Supreme Court's public records for this fascinating story. It just goes to show how one phrase, 12 calendar months, can be worth millions.
Indeed. In this case, that knowledge was worth over 26 million pesos.
Check your dates, watch out for February 29th, and we'll see you on the next one.
Goodbye, everyone.